Hey everyone, Tony G with another hot take. And oh man, there's only two things in the news: Democrats and the virus. So let's start with the virus. There's not much good news to report. One tiny bit of good news for people in my area is there was a case in Philadelphia that turned out to be negative. So that was good. Hasn't hit Philly yet. It has hit New Jersey. Officially confirmed today. Someone from Bergen, probably or in the Fort Lee area, I think, who was in contact with the people who have been diagnosed in New York, has the virus. It was confirmed today. I think they're in the hospital. And so that's very bad because you're talking about New York City, one of the most densely, well, if not the most densely populated area in the United States. Most people ride the subway or a bus or get on the ferry. This guy was from Fort Lee. I used to hang out in Fort Lee. I dated a girl up there. And there in Fort Lee, the easiest way to get to New York is the ferry. So it's very likely this person took the ferry to work if he worked in New York. And Fort Lee itself is still pretty densely populated. Since he was in contact with the people in New York, obviously he goes to New York, and I mean, one ferry ride, you're talking a few dozen people could have been exposed. One subway ride, you're talking like 10, 20 people exposed on the car, not to mention, walking to and from the subway or ferry, going to restaurants, stopping in stores. I mean, when you're in New York, you go to a lot of places and they're normally pretty crowded. So that's not good. Also, the virus supposedly lasts up to 9 days on surfaces. So we're talking about a lot of contaminated areas, even just with 3 or 4 people. Come here, doggy. You coming up? Come here. Ugh. Anyhow, it's just a matter of time. So what's going to happen? Well, we can look to what's happening in Washington State right now. In Washington State, there was a contamination in an old folks' home. Very unfortunate, because you're talking about a lot of vulnerable people. And so there's been an outbreak of coronavirus in the old folks' home. And now the state of Washington, I believe the whole state has declared a state of emergency, but they're asking the people of that particular county to stay home and voluntarily quarantine themselves. So that's pretty big. That's a pretty big step up. Here's Doggy. Now she's ready to say hi. Say hi, Doggy. Yes, you're a good girl. So when you're asking millions of people, and I believe I was watching the Tim Pool video about it, and he said the Daily Mail was reporting 2.2 million people are affected by the quarantine. But this is a voluntary quarantine, which means nobody really has to listen to it. Which means you're going to get a lot of people who just will ignore it and go to work and do what they normally do. There are some people who probably feel that they can't help but ignore the quarantine. Geez, doggy, you still smell like shampoo. You still smell like shampoo. So these people. They'll go to work sick. They don't care. They'll only stop working or going somewhere if they're like so bad, like they can't get out of bed, kind of bad. Which in the case of the coronavirus is bad news, because you're going to see one of these people get the coronavirus and just stubbornly keep going out until they're so bad they either collapse and end up in the hospital, or, they wake up in a pool of their own sweat and end up in the hospital. But by that time, we're talking 2 weeks. Keep in mind, this virus has a 2-week incubation period. You're going to have it for a couple of weeks and not even know it. Excuse me, very dry in here. And the dog smells like her shampoo. That means I could have it. I wouldn't know it. I feel fine. And but for the 2 weeks you do have it and feel fine, you're not going to go to the doctors. You're not going to do anything out of the ordinary. You're going to try to live your life. You know, if you're paranoid like me, you're going to wear a face mask when you go out, but you know, not many people are doing that yet. I'm still getting made fun of for it, but you know, I'm hoping it helps me at least somewhat. You know, everybody's suddenly a mask expert telling me, oh, it doesn't do anything. That's what the news said. Yeah, thanks. Anyhow, what we got to be prepared for is probably what's going on in Washington State now. We're going to have to be prepared for the first level of quarantine, which is going to be voluntary quarantine. They're going to say, please, if you don't have to open your business, don't open it. If you don't have to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. Everyone, please stay at home, work from home, you know, or whatever. That, I think, is good advice. And in fact, here's my idea for some of you out there. Feel free to use this. If you have a small business or, you know, even a large business, and you've got people and you got people coming in and out, what you have to figure is people are going to come in and out of your place. They're going to have the coronavirus and everybody's going to get sick. Like me, apparently. Jeez. No, I think I'm fine, Dougie. Anyhow, you want to take advantage and turn a negative into a positive. So what I think some of these businesses should think about doing is announcing on the local news, you know, send out a press release saying that for the safety of their customers and staff, they'll be closing for 2 weeks and then reopening when it's safe. Now, the whole thing on this is the timing, right? How do you close for 2 weeks? And you have to, you know, you're going to have to spend a little money and pay your employees anyway. Give them a 2-week vacation. That would be the hook to get the news people to come out and cover you about what a great business you have that you would give your employees 2 weeks paid vacation, you know, because of the coronavirus. I think it would do wonders for some business. Now, there's a huge risk involved in that if you time it wrong, you could close for 2 weeks and nothing could happen. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, it could all hit, and then you're closed for another month. And you basically closed for 2 weeks for nothing, and all the momentum you build doesn't work because everybody starts hiding at the end of the 2 weeks when really it should have been a month or whatever. You know, it may not work at all. You know, the virus may just burn itself out or whatever. Unlikely at this point. It may just not be that bad. You may lose to competitors, whatever. You know, I think if you could afford it, you should probably do it just anyway. And you should probably bank on, I think, some businesses being closed probably like a month or more. Because when this hits, it's going to be fairly big. In that, first you're going to get this soft quarantine. You're going to see supply chains disrupted. And what that means is stuff coming out of China has already been disrupted. You know, truckers, you know, places like your supermarket, they're not going to be able to restock. Now, it's not going to be forever. It's probably going to be like a few days, maybe a week. And it's going to be sporadic to get back up to it because people are going to be getting sick in mass. So, you know, say it hits your store and you work in a supermarket. The pandemic's stats are 40% to 70% of the world is going to get sick. So you have to figure 40 to 70% of your staff is going to get sick along with your customers. You're not going to have any customers anyway, but, you know, once you're up above 50% of your staff, you may not be able to even run the place properly. Plus, add to the fact that nobody's in the store, you may as well close down until you could get, you know, shipments in, at least for a couple of days, and sort of take it a day at a time and wait to see what happens. It could be that everybody on your staff gets sick simply because you're in a enclosed area. Somebody got sick, had interaction with almost everybody. They in turn had interaction with everybody else over the course of a week or two. And by the end of 2 weeks, everybody's calling out, just everyone, everybody who came in. And there'll be 3 or 4 people who are just either naturally immune or for whatever reason just haven't caught it because they're paranoid nut jobs like me that keep washing their hands and wearing a face mask around. So that's probably not going to be enough to run the place. You might be able to open and kind of organize things until people can come back. But, and this is going to kill business for, my estimate is about 2 months. I think 2 months, the beginning of it where like people will refuse to close down, but during that first week of the first month, like the whole thing kind of falls apart. No customers are coming in. Everybody's freaking out about the virus. If you're in a regular store, with food, maybe you get sold out, but, the trucks stop coming to resupply, or they come in at weird times, and then you can't get enough employees to unload the truck, and then you unload the truck, and it turns out 2 of the employees get diagnosed with coronavirus, and then you have to throw out everything in the store that got unloaded because it's got coronavirus. Or you have to wipe it all down with, you have to do a deep clean and literally wipe everything down. Or you have to close the store for 2 weeks to make sure anything with the virus on it, it doesn't matter anymore. So, those are going to be your options, and those are not good options for people. At the same time, even the people in charge are going to get sick. In Iran, a lot of the parliament is sick. A lot of the people who are in charge of the country have gotten the coronavirus. And in fact, that guy who was in the middle of the press release who was sweating, he's responsible, I don't know, for the crisis management or whatever, he died. He got the coronavirus. He had it at the press conference, and then he later died. So, no one's immune to this thing. Well, some people may have natural immunity, but most people aren't going to be immune to this thing. Most people are going to get sick. They're all going to get sick at the same time. There'll probably be a panic, a rush on the stores, a rush on the drugstores. You're not going to be able to get the medicine you need. And worse still, you go into the store to get medicine for someone who's sick. Maybe they have the regular flu. They don't even have the coronavirus. As you're in there, you catch the coronavirus from somebody who went into the store. So, it's going to be chaos for weeks until, hopefully at the end of 2 months, it'll cycle through everybody, just like the flu, because it's so contagious. And then at the end of that 2 months, people will start getting better. Some people will probably still be in the hospital, unfortunately, but most people will have gotten over it. They're basically immune to it at that point, and they start calling up work and saying, are we going to open soon? Are we going to open? Well, call back in another day. Not today. Maybe Monday, blah, blah, blah. And then slowly people will start to reopen again. And, and then, at the end of 2 months, you're going to, everybody's probably going to be reevaluating their business model, at least in the short term, because it's going to be like, well, we don't have a customer base right now. In the next month, like, people will slowly start to trickle in, but, there's going to be a lot of devastating news for some families with older relatives. There's going to be thousands of deaths if millions of people get this, on top of the fact that some people will still be sick. Some people will still be afraid to go out. There might be a chance that this could mutate and you could get it a second time. That would be a huge fear, and people would absolutely freak out. And then it's going to be, well, what do we do now if this is something we could get again? So companies may have to take drastic measures in their places of business, calling in deep cleaners, people in basically hazmat suits to come in and scrub every friggin' surface with bleach. Like literally every surface, every piece of furniture, the floors, the walls, the ceiling, every fridge in the break room, every surface in a break room, you know, there's a lot of surfaces in a business. They are going to throw out a lot of things. They're going to throw out tons of food just to be safe. They're going to throw out probably some clothes and possibly things shipped from China. I was thinking about this the other day in terms of my own lockdown situation. I'm trying to limit my exposure as much as possible. I went to Target, got some supplies, and then I thought, wait a minute. And, everything was sealed, but then I thought, well, people could have touched this and put it back on the shelf. You like pick up something like peanut butter, you look at the ingredients, go, well, no, I don't want this, and you put it back. So I actually took a Clorox wipe and wiped down all my groceries to make sure there's no virus on them. And then I threw out all the bags that I brought the groceries in with, and then I wiped down the table that held the bags with the groceries, and then I went out into my car and I wiped down the car and everywhere the groceries touched, and then I scrubbed my own hands and, stuff like that. So it's, if you forget one thing, and then it occurred to me, oh, wait a minute, the mail. I'm getting mail. The mailman could be spreading the coronavirus and not even know it. And then I, took alcohol swabs and did the mailbox and the doorknobs and the mail. So this is a real problem if, the coronavirus is here. I mean, I'm fairly safe right now in that it's probably unlikely the coronavirus is this far in South Jersey yet. But you have to get yourself in the habit so when the virus is here, you're already doing it. And you have to keep in mind, because of the 2-week incubation period, you have to be 2 weeks ahead of the curve. You have to be doing this before it breaks loose. Because if you're not, you probably already have it. If you're just, like I stopped going out to eat. There's nothing I like better than going around South Jersey and getting a slice of pizza and getting a bagel and, getting Chinese food. Every year on my birthday, I go out for all-you-can-eat sushi. Can't do it until this is done. So, if you own a restaurant, you might be throwing out all your food and then closing down for a few weeks. Who's going to go out to eat in this? It'll only take one person on your staff to infect everybody. And then, fortunately, well, not fortunately, but you know what I'm saying when I explain it. Because of the 2-week incubation period, no one's going to know they got it from your restaurant, even if everybody gets sick and you have to close down. But, it's not a good look. And you don't want people to get sick. And if business is off anyway, this is the time to close down, go on vacation. Well, not vacation, but just stay home and maybe spend time with the family and really consider giving your employees, a couple of weeks. You don't have to go nuts. Just give them a basic pay so they can pay their bills and just say, listen, everybody stay home and stay safe. And, when this is all over in 2 weeks, come back and we'll try to rebuild and hopefully, none of you will be sick. But it's hard to say. I'm not an expert. I just think about these things constantly. So, but what you should do, if you haven't done it yet, especially if you're in my region of the country, get your supplies. And get your supplies and stop going to the store as much as possible. Limit your exposure. Try not to go anywhere. So if you're going to go to the store and get some supplies, buy enough supplies so you don't have to go back. I had to make another supply run. Like I had to. I was running out of stuff, like my normal stuff, and I had to go get a few odds and ends. So make your supply run, be done, and then be home and be glad that you're not sick. Good luck, everyone. Hopefully, the coronavirus will be over soon.